Okay. Cool. So, what the transactional model states is that communication is simultaneous and continuous. Okay, now if you remember, in the first two models, it said that noise is a disturbance. Okay, where it said like, only two people can talk to can have a conversation. If other people are talking, it's going to be like a barrier. That's going to be very, what do you say, distracting. Okay, now what this model states is that obviously people are going to talk. Okay, because that's the whole idea of society. Okay, because that's the whole idea of communication. Okay, you're sitting with someone while you're having conversations over here, there are going to be multiple conversations going around also. Like, how some of you all are listening to my lecture while texting your buddies. Okay, do you see how that works? Okay, so there are simultaneous and continuous conversations happening all the time. Okay, now what this model states is, let's say for example, if we are in a classroom situation but we are in college. Okay, and you all are sitting for my lecture and I'm explaining stuff to you while there are two or three of y'all who are outside bunking class. Okay, you all are like, oh my god, we need to run before ma'am sees us. Okay, so you all are having your own conversation. There is, let's say, the peons at the end of the corridor who are, they're trying to see, like, okay, fine, what else, where do we need to send the notice to. Okay, so they are having a chat amongst themselves. Now all these conversations happen simultaneously. Okay, it does not mean that one conversation interrupts the other. That's what it is saying. Noise is of course a barrier. Okay, if we are having a conversation, there's obviously going to be traffic noise that'll interrupt you. There's going to be something or the other as noise itself. Okay, that would kind of interrupt conversations. Like, say, if we're sitting and suddenly, let's say we're at what do you say, we're having coffee. Okay, and we're out, and suddenly there's like a Harley Davidson that rolls by. Okay, and suddenly everyone, without even realizing it, everyone suddenly turns and watches the Harley Davidson go back until you realize, okay, fine, I was in a conversation with someone else. Okay, that's the impact of noise. Okay, you are driving, for example. Okay, you're on the road and the policeman whistles. Doesn't matter if you think that the policeman is he calling me, is he not calling me, but out of sure out of a reaction, what do? You always look and check, is it me, did I do something wrong? Okay, and everyone around you thinks the same way, because that's the way it has been ingrained. Okay, so that is what we're talking about in terms of noise. Okay, now noise is not the only barrier, there are other barriers as well. Physical means time and distance. Okay. Distance, just think of a long distance relationship. Okay. So therefore, obviously, yeah. Okay. Distance, time, let's say, what do you say? For example, if you're arranging for a meeting with an international company, okay, you obviously need to be respectful of time differences. You kind of find middle ground and make sure that, it's not uncomfortable for them or you. Okay. So, physical barriers. Can anyone tell me what does the word semantic mean?
Can you repeat the question, ma'am?
What does the word semantic mean?
Ma'am, can you give some context to the word?
Mm,
A connection, kind of connection.
To have some meaning.
Excellent. Very good. So the word semantic means meaning. Okay. It means what you understand by what is being said. Okay. Say, for example, I took this lecture in Greek and Latin. It would be a semantic barrier. Okay. Barring the fact that it's a language barrier also. Okay. So, but you don't understand it. If I tell you something that is very specific to a particular TV series, for example, but you've never watched it, so you won't get the references. It's a semantic barrier. Okay, so you've got physical barriers, semantic barriers. Now, intrapersonal and interpersonal. So intrapersonal is within yourself, and interpersonal is with another person. Okay, so let's say okay, let's say you're going for a wedding. Okay, and you dress up really nice. Okay, the women are like, the girls, y'all are like dressed up in your lenga and you're looking really nice and you put makeup on. The guys are wearing their suits, ties look like, you're looking really dashing and handsome. Okay, and you look at the mirror and then suddenly you realize, oh, because of the pandemic, I've been eating a lot. I've put on little weight and it shows. Okay. So that's intrapersonal. Okay. So like just think of your like as if insecurities. Okay. So your insecurities suddenly play when you look in the mirror. Okay. That is an intrapersonal barrier because then you can't see past that sometimes. Okay. An interpersonal barrier is as simple as having an argument with someone else. Okay. You just can't meet middle ground. That is an interpersonal barrier. Okay, so yeah, four major barriers that we've spoken of is physical, semantic, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. Fields of common experience, obviously what both of you all can relate to. Now these
Ma'am,
boil down to certain, yeah, sorry.
ma'am, the first one was physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Physical, semantic, inter, and intra.
Yeah, you can see the screen, no?
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am, I didn't say that. Okay, good.
Yeah. So wait, where is this? Mm. Yeah. Physical, semantic, intrapersonal, and interpersonal. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Cool. Yeah. So you, in terms of your fields of experience, how would you categorize them? So these are things that you could look at: culture, background, age, etc. Think of this. I don't know how many of you all watch stand-up comedy, but 90% of the comedians that you watch are Indian. Why? Because you relate to them. Okay, you know exactly what they're talking about because you come. What do you say? It's much easier for you to recognize them and you understand what they're saying. Okay, if I told you to watch an Egyptian stand-up comedian, you won't be able to relate so well because the nuances that they provide in terms of the cultural experiences that they have, no matter how much news you watch, no matter how much you study, unless you're staying there and you understand what it is like living over there, you will not get everything. Okay. Then let's say you're talking about background. Now, when I say background, for example, let's say uh, you and your best friend. Okay, why do you all gel? Because you feel like you kind of you share something in common. Therefore, there's some background that you're able to kind of mesh. Okay, therefore you're cool with it. Background could also mean, let's say, only someone who's gone through something really terrible, like say someone's passed away in your family, only another person who understands loss because of that background shared knowledge can you relate to each other, therefore the empathetic nature that you all share. Okay. Age. Okay, age is very simple. Just think of this one sentence that your parents would you've heard your parents say. This generation, no, they're always like that. Okay, why? Because you look at the differences, right? There's obviously an age gap, and you see the change. Okay, and therefore the idea that, you know what, oh my god, we can't relate to them. And what's your reaction? Arey mummy, why you're telling like this? Okay, so there is some sort of what do you say, distance, but at the same time, you and your friends would relate to each other much better. Okay, so age. uh, Education. Let's say, think of an arranged marriage, and let's say if the girl has only finished her 12th. Okay, and she's like, the parents have told her you need to get married, and she's marrying someone who's doing his PhD. Okay, unless that girl is really mature. Okay, then it's not going to be equals over there. Okay, and that's very clear. Okay, so therefore education plays a really important role. Okay. uh Mood. Okay. That does not mean that, you know what, okay, fine. Two people who are angry together will make the entire scene better. No, it's not that. It means, let's say if you've had a really terrible day and you need to just kind of, take some time off. Okay, that's where this idea of displacement of anger comes in. Okay, wherein you go home and then you see your mom sitting there and you just like unload everything and like, oh my god, my girlfriend broke up with me, yada yada yada. Okay, for example, I'm feeling really bad, but because your mom understands what it's like to have your heart broken, okay, the mood, okay, that is how you all can relate to each other. Okay. um I so a few years ago, there was this TV series called Sarabai versus Sarabai. I don't know if you all remember watching it, but just think of the conversations between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. The idea of the classes and financial security is very visible over there, very, very visible. Okay, they say no, it's a class apart. It's really that way. Okay, so you understand how class differences do sometimes, either they pull people together or they don't. What do we say? People within the same social circles run. Okay, so when you relate to another person, you know you have these sort of shared experiences. Okay. um we say no, okay, fine, and sometimes we say it so unknowingly and as if like it's matter of fact, like, oh yeah, all South Bombay people are like that only. You see how there's that, it's so subtle that you don't even realize what you're saying. Okay. Gender, obviously. Okay. So yeah, I mean, think of it when you're younger, around 5 6. Okay, what, think of how you would spend time with your cousins. Okay, generally the guys hang out together and you're bullying your cousin sisters. Okay, just like think of when you all were younger. Okay, so that's how you would generally have those shared experiences. Okay, now coming to the model, communicator A, B, okay, encodes, decodes, very, very, what do you say? No power play here in terms of active and passive role, very visible. Messages being sent through a context. Context is absolutely important. You don't just communicate for the sake of communicating, right? There's a reason behind your communication. Therefore, that would be the context. And the reason why any communication takes place is because you're trying to make sure that you minimize barriers. Okay. Uh, okay. Do you have any questions? Or are we cool? Too much? Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
earlier when you said, ma'am, the noises
what is
were
this
of different kind.
Shut up, man.
Earlier, so ma'am, and more conversations was going on continuously and simultaneously. You give the example of a bike, Harley, and others, ma'am. While there are a lot of conversation going on, ma'am, other conversation can act as a noise for the conversation, right?
Yes, but it also depends. See, just because someone else is having a conversation, okay, it doesn't mean you'll stop yours, right? What would you do? You'd probably get up, move maybe a little far away, and then continue your conversation. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, just think of this. You're sitting at a restaurant, okay, and you're talking to someone. There are so many people around you. Do you stop talking? No, right?
No, ma'am.
Then
No, ma'am.
you just continue. You know there are things going around, but you're in your own little bubble and you're okay with it. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. But there's still noise being provided, right?
Yeah.
We won't stop, right? We won't stop, but the noise, we won't stop by the noise, but
Mhm.
the conversation has a noise in it because of the other conversation.
Absolutely. You're right. You're right. That I'm not denying that. Correct. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The only thing that I'm trying to say is that the other models do not acknowledge this. This model does. That is the difference that I'm trying to tell you. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. So the transition model.
Yeah.